Got that process. Let me jump on over here. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Here we go. We're going to work with these glasses. It's not the computer glasses, but y'all see me have to pull back. It's because I'm trying to see my computer. So welcome everybody to Let's Talk About It Tuesday. I am the dynamic, daring, one-of-a-kind diva, Denise Silas. Excited to have you guys here on tonight. Make sure you have put in the chat your name, where you are tuning in from. How did you find out about us? If this is your first time at an Empowered by DS experience, please put in the chat first time, raise your hand, give me something so that I know this is your first time experiencing us. So I love to share with people just kind of who we are. So Empowered by DS as in Denise Silas, is something I do with my very fairly new business that I do with my daughters, Alea and Amani. But this is all the stuff that we do, until you put it on paper. Sometimes you don't even know what you'd be doing, right? I got it all on paper. I said, oh, I forgot something. Oh, I forgot something. So it has been amazing to do it. So just kind of explain to you guys what it is. Our mission, the most important thing is our mission is to empower women to be the best version of themselves in their current season of their life. Because I don't know about you, but I know that during the season it can look one way and then the next season can look a whole different way. So we always just want to help women be the best in the current season through all their circumstances, whatever is going on, that they can just bring the best that they can possibly bring during that time. So we do that several different ways. So one we have was called Diva Dinner and Dialogue. What that is really just connecting women through conversation. It came about because I was doing a Saturday morning empowerment workshop, and somebody said, well, Denise, I can't make it on Saturdays if you do something during the week. So I launched that, and it has been amazing. That's one of our events to help women to see that we're more alike than different, just to create some social self-care. And the funny thing about it, you guys, the woman still has not come to an event, but she was a vehicle, right, to launch something that I didn't even know was needed. So that happens pretty much on the first Friday of the month. Sometimes we don't have it if we have a different type of activity, but we really have it on the first Friday of the month. Some of them we just dialoguing, and some of them we do an activity as well. So we've done a paint and sip, painting wine glasses versus canvases. And so we've done that. And then, so our next Diva Dialogue is coming up. Then we have our empowerment breakfasts that we host once a quarter. The purpose of that one is to give more attention to the woman, to help her to identify her gifts, to bring her best out of her, understanding that she can unapologetically be the best that she can be. And she's a gift to be given to others because God has created us with our unique gifts and talents to be able to share with others. So that's the focus is more on her at the empowerment workshop. Then we launched a subscription box. So I love this image. This is something my daughter designed. The combination of the two women to say that we're empowering all women. And we did a subscription box because most of our experiences were local, but I have lots of women in different areas. So that's how we kind of bring the empowerment to them. It is curated for the purpose of inspiring women, giving them confidence, helping them to take some time for themselves and focus on the desires of their heart. So we have that, and it comes out once a quarter. Then we have, I'm big about the full woman. So I'm going to support you in your building your faith, building your family and relationships, your fitness and your health, your finances and your wealth, and then your fun as well. So we're doing this year, our spiritual journey is 100 Days to Believe in Bigger was last year. This year, we're doing about leadership. Sometimes we as women forget that we are leaders, regardless if we're leading anybody. We are leaders. If you have anybody in your house, guess what? You leading all them folks up in your house, right? So this is John Maxwell is one of my most favorite authors on leadership, and he has a devotional based on his 21 laws of leadership. So we're doing it throughout the year. So we don't meet every every Sunday, but we have particular days based on schedules so that we can literally use the book throughout the 2025. So you'll have the opportunity still to join us. We are only on law number 5. Then we have, of course, you're here with our Talk About It Tuesday. And the reason why that came about is because when people register for our events, I'm always trying to figure out what the woman needs. And so they started listing different topics that they wanted to discuss and learn more about. And so I'm not the expert in everything. I don't ever claim to be the expert. So I wanted to bring some women who were more experienced in those particular areas and just have conversation about it so that we can really help women to see they're not by themselves and we're here to support them. Our Escape to Empower Me is our 1 day away excursion we're about to do, going to Nashville as a retreat. And I stole that idea from my friend Anissa. So I do want you to know that you need to be around bless you, girl. You need to be around some great people. So she did something similar in her area. I think they went to a beach. we gonna do the beach. We're gonna do the beach. But that just inspired us to do it. So we're gonna do that on April 26th. Then the last thing, almost sort of kind of, we have our Focus 10 challenge. I am not a trainer. I am not a nutritionist. I am not a healthy eater, but I do my best to be the best I can. So with that, I have learned over the years, and probably the last, I'm about to be 57, 2 years, almost 10 years, I've been very intentional about maintaining and having and reconfiguring my figure and maintaining that. So I do a Focus 10 challenge. So it's not a diet, it's about discipline. So just giving you healthier habits. So we're doing that. We're just starting our second phase. It's 4 phases of it, 4 phases of 10 days. So you can learn more about that as well, and I'll tell you how. And then our Decide Tribe, the Decide of Decide Tribe is Divas, Empowering and Connecting Individuals Who Dare to Excel. That's what that acronym stands for. And we have a Decide Tribe Facebook group, and it's all about the divas just trying to be their best. So we just want to support that and create a community of women who support each other, who are cheering each other on and supporting them and being the best version. And then the last thing, second to last thing, the vision, the Vision to Victory. Divas Night Out, that was created last year because often when people do vision boards, they do that vision board and get behind the door, behind, somewhere other than in plain sight. So I asked the ladies last year when we did our vision board party to stay with me all year, and I want to celebrate them and as victory. So we start the year with the vision board and the end of the year with our Vision to Victory party. So that's something that a lot of women enjoy. So that is part of one of our signature experiences as well. And then the last thing for real, is the group training and the one-on-one coaching I do. So I'm excited to be able to just share with women my last 31 years of just empowering women in the skincare industry and just being able to take all those tools that I've learned to be able to train. I could train men as well, but I have a big, huge passion for women, whether I'm doing them as a group or doing them one-on-one training as well. So that is Empowered by DS, you guys. It was birthed not even intentionally. Did something to support women outside of my Mary Kay family, and it just launched into something bigger because there was a need for women to just want to create community, want to get unstuck after COVID, and just did not know how to do it. So we provided the environment, and God has blessed us and used us to be able to support women in that area. So that is me. So to connect to any of them, you can text these words. So we still have room for our retreat that we're doing, the day away retreat to Nashville on April 26th. So if you text any of those words, you get more information about each topic. So Escape is the retreat. Focus 2025 is the fitness discipline challenge to learn healthier habits. Our next Diva Dinner and Dialogue is on May 2nd. You can get information about that. And then for our spiritual leadership journey, you can get with that as well. So follow us, Empowered by DS, on all platforms to learn more and stay connected with us, and join the Decide Tribe as well. So I'm excited, you guys. I'm excited to introduce you my friend. I have known Anissa for many, many, many years. We have slept together on many, many occasions. I know that sounds crazy, but we have shared rooms and built another business together, just hanging out, learning from each other. And then in this season of our life, we continue to grow together. So you want to have people in your life who challenge you. You want to have people in your life who are just inspire you to do more. She was the one who introduced me and supported me in being an author. So I don't know if I should put that on there too. I'm a published author as well, as a result of my girlfriend here. So let me, and she's going to tell you more about her latest book. She's going to tell you more about that a little bit later, but I had it all up and now I don't. So, and it's not, I can't even blame it on technology. It's because when I open up stuff, I don't know how to find it. Anybody else have that issue? You'll open it up and don't know where it went. Yeah, that's me. So give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. 1 second. 1 second. Because then they'll tell you, you've already opened this up. So here we go. Here we go. Dr. Anissa Short, the success strategist, is on a mission to educate, encourage, and empower women in leadership. Her faith-based platform champions success, cultivating confidence that strengthens women in all aspects of life. Dr. Short's educational background includes a BBA, MBA, and PhD in business and administration. She's also a certified Christian life coach, a volunteer in her local church, and happily married to Alfonso since 1998. In addition to this, she is noted as an international best-selling author, motivational speaker, international TEDx speaker, Forbes Business Council MC, literally, now I got caught. Say it for me, I can't say it now. I'm gonna mess myself up.
Literary.
That's what I'm doing, because I keep going literal. That what she said. Ambassador to Africa and a digital course creator. Her decades of experiences in the business sector and as an entrepreneur supported the launch of DrAnissaShort Consulting in 2024, a platform offering coaching, workshops, and publishing concierge services. As an influencer and collaborator, she is passionate about creating winning teams and assisting women in realizing the value of their voices. Her principal messaging mixed with comical anecdotes is sure to encourage and inspire. To connect or for more information, and we'll share her website. I'll put it in the chat, the website as well. So I am excited. I'm excited to share, bring you to the stage and all of that fun stuff. The awesome and amazing, all the way from North Carolina, my girlfriend, the spotlight, DrAnissaShort.
And the crowd goes wild. Great evening, everybody. Thank you, Denise, for this opportunity.
Awesome. Okay, so we're going to jump on in. So first of all, tell us just a little bit about Anissa.
So Anissa is the woman who doesn't meet a stranger. She's the one that loves ice cream. Probably shouldn't, but I do. Loves ice cream. I'm the one that will say yes to a trip to the beach. I don't need a reason to go. Anywhere there's sand and ocean, I'm game for it. I am the one who loves reading. I'm an extrovert introvert. And what I mean by that is while I don't meet a stranger and I'm usually the same bubbly personality always, no matter where I am, I recharge with my time to myself and just kind of settle. I schedule what I call rest therapy at least 3 or 4 times a week. As children, our parents call that a nap, but I call it rest therapy as an adult. So that's just a little bit about me. I love crafting. I love meeting new people. I love to travel. I am a believer, and I am my husband's awesome wife.
Awesome. So tell us how you got into writing books.
Denise, that's a very good question. So after moving to North Carolina in 2013, I evolved into an author. That's what I'll say. That's the best way to describe it. So I moved to North Carolina in 2013. And just as a side note, Memphis, Tennessee is home for me. My parents live in DeSoto County, Mississippi, so I know from which most of you come. But anywho, um, but I moved to North Carolina in 2013 because of my husband as being a federal employee, and of course an opportunity presented itself. When I got here, like many other times I've moved, I know, or at least I believe it's important that you serve your community before expecting anybody to do anything for you. And so as an entrepreneur and in the direct sales industry, there were times when I wanted to participate in vending events and things of that nature, but they already knew somebody that sold, yada, yada, yada. So it's kind of hard, like when you move anywhere. And for those of you who have moved, it's challenging sometimes to make your state your claim in your new city. But God told me to bloom where I was planted, and if they didn't have space for me, I would create space for them. So I began hosting events, and I wanted vendors to come to my event. So now I was the one soliciting the vendors. And in the process of doing so, I created a 12-point checklist to help the women because I wanted them to have a certain aura. I didn't want their table to just be thrown up any kind of way. And so without offending anyone, I just provided a checklist and said, here's some things we'd like for you to use as your guide when you set up your table. Well, that turned into people reaching out to me because I was referred to them because they were going to attend their first vendor event and they didn't know what to do. And then that turned into some of the small businesses saying, I'm hosting an event. My business is hosting an event. Would you be responsible for getting the vendors here? And, for so many vendors, it ended up being another stream of income, really. And so in the course of time, I realized there was a need. So I took the 12-point checklist and put it in a book form. So they could either get my checklist when they become a vendor at my events and it comes with their fee, or they could just buy the book. And I wrote it out, knew nothing about publishing, attended a networking event. That's why it's important to show up to places. And I didn't want to go, but I went to support the person that was hosting it, in all honesty. And I met a woman who owned a publishing company who literally lived 3 minutes from my house. And she took me under her wing. She published that book for me, and then she began to mentor me. She spoke into my life and said, the platform that you're creating as a result of this book will be larger than your direct sales platform. And at the time, I wasn't planning on writing another book. I just thought she was just talking out of her head. I really thought she may have had me confused with someone else. But anyway, fast forward 10 years, that was 2017, I think it was. And I launched my 10th book on the 31st of March.
Wonderful. Wow. 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 Taking a gift, taking something that you know to do and meeting a need. And it became something that you just don't know. I think
Right.
if you just move, God will lead us to where he wants us to go.
I
He would
believe
definitely
that.
lead us where he wants us to go. That's awesome. That is awesome. So tell me about, you said the 10 books. Like, tell me about the different books.
Okay, so the first book was called the Vendor Blueprint. That's the one I just made reference to, which is just a guide to help small business owners represent with excellence in the marketplace. So that's the first book. That's the second book, because while I was trying to get that one done, I was invited to be a part of another book, what they call an anthology, which is a co-author space. That book was called As for Me and My House, and we had an opportunity to talk about to share our stories about how we onboarded friends and family to support our business, or if they didn't, how we got over it. That book became an international bestseller. So before my book even published, I was already an international bestseller. I had no clue what that meant. I was just so nice, so ignorant to a lot of this. But anywho, so that's book number 2. Then I curated my own series of co-author projects called the Becoming the Shiro series. So one was Becoming the Shiro. It was an entrepreneurial edition. It had 14 women join me in that process, and they talked about how they became the Shiro that they are, the woman that they are, as a result of their entrepreneurial journeys. Transparency and authenticity was the requirement, and of course, it became an Amazon bestseller. The second was Becoming the Shiro, the military edition, because I live in a city where there's military women everywhere, military period. I gained a very great respect. I was very ignorant of the sacrifices that soldiers, especially those soldiers who are female and have children. And so I reached out to women and said, I really sent out an APB and said, this is the book I want to have a book that salutes women in the military. So that was the second of the Becoming the Shero series. It became an Amazon bestseller as well. And then my third is the one Denise referenced earlier, which is the Motherhood Mantle. I facilitated that project because I wanted to salute motherhood, the whole essence of what it means to be a mom. And so I was blessed to have several women to join me on that category. So that made that total was, I think, book that was 5. And so then I was asked to be a part of another collaboration called Click to Cash, entrepreneurs that answer specific questions. And that book became an Amazon bestseller. I didn't curate that project. I was a part of it. So I have a chapter in that book. And then I did another collaboration project on the importance of mentorship. That's called the Titus 2 Principle, Reach, Teach, Lead. And then there is, it's like I'm missing something. Oh, yeah, the 7 Keys to Success. That's the book that I wrote independent. It talks about the 7 Keys to Success is what I call the book. That's the title of the book. But what it does is it takes a biblical story and it outlines 7 keys that lead from a woman having a crisis situation to being able to make a difference in the legacy of her family. And so that's what I referenced. And let's see, what was that? I don't know. I lost count, Denise. Is that 8 or 9? I'm just kind of anyway. So this my last. I have the Quintessential Woman is the one I launched March 31st. I think that was 9, maybe 10. That's supposed to be 10. So I'm missing one. What am I missing? Oh gosh, I'm missing one.
I need to help you.
Oh no, I do. The other one is called The Gift of Freedom. That was my first attempt at writing a novel. All of these other books are considered in the genre of self-help or inspirational. The Gift of Freedom is a novel, and I worked on this project as a result of a writer's retreat that I attended in Jamaica. And so me, along with 3 other women, wrote a story. Each of us wrote separate stories, but they're combined in the sense that all of our characters go to Jamaica to attend a forgiveness retreat, and everybody has their own dynamic. So while every story is separate and is an entity of its own, when you read it, you feel like everybody's at the same location. And so that was my first attempt at writing a novel. And listen, that was a learning experience like none other. So that made 10.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So we don't even know what God has in store for us, you guys. We don't
That's
know
true.
what
That's
God
true.
has in store for us. Hey Sheena. So tell us about the Quintessential, the latest book, how it
Okay.
leads to leadership, and let's talk about the book. Let's talk about the book.
Okay. I want to share the backstory to the book first. So the 3 books that I referenced, The Quintessential Woman, which is my most recent, the one about 7 Keys to Success, and the book about the Titus 2 Principle. The content of those books were given to me long before I moved to Fayetteville, North Carolina in 2013. And while they were not all published at the same time, I had the written content for all of them because during a window of time in my life, I went to what I call a kind of a quiet season. I had just made the decision to leave my good government job and I was kind of lost as to what I was supposed to do next. And so I had some time to myself, sitting at home, twiddling my thumbs. What I knew for sure was I was not to be an exclusive housewife in the traditional sense of the word. That was not my calling, you know. So that didn't take long. And so, as I always do, I had a little talk with Jesus about what it was I was to do. And he told me then that my direct sales business, the company for which I had been a part of for several years at that time, was something that I needed to dive into more and to build my business larger and to step up to the next plate, which was a leadership position, because it was within that vehicle that I was going to learn what I needed to learn in order to fulfill what God had told me when I was 19. At the age of 19, I was an accounting major at Lemoyne College in Memphis, Tennessee. And God told me to change my major to business because one day I would be a consultant to women. So in 1980-ish, I didn't know what a consult. I'm like, consult what? You know, I mean, that was not common. We hear
Right.
consultant coaching and that type of thing common now, but it wasn't at the time. But anyway, so I did that. I built my business at a greater level, stepped up into the leadership. That's when I met Denise. Denise and I became power partners, for the lack of a better phrase. And then in 2020, after moving here and starting to write, that's when God reminded me of that content that it was given during it was my personal Bible study. And so the Titus 2 principle was the first book in that. No, the first book was the 7 keys to success, because God said many times in that storyline, which is the widow with the oil, when she had a financial situation and she was in distress. Many of you who are Christian know the story. And when she went to seek help or advice, the Elisha said to her, what do you have in your house? So the first message was many times the answers to our questions, the fact that we're unfulfilled, the opportunities that we need to fix our situation oftentimes can be remedied if we would just switch our thinking to what we have in our house, whether it be the gifts God has given us or the business opportunity. So that was the first message. The second message was, in order to create the level of success we desire, we really need to be mentored. And that's what we as women have been destined to do. In Titus 2, it says the older women should teach the younger women to be good wives and all of that. And I was like, God, that don't sound sexy. I mean, I get it. We need to be good wives and raise our children. But what about the women that are not married? And he reminded me that in the biblical time of the biblical stories, women didn't work outside the home. That was their job. So the principle is, whether it be to teach women how to be good wives and good mothers, or if you are an executive, to mentor someone else to be executive, or if you're an entrepreneur, to mentor someone else to be entrepreneurs, or if you're a mother, to mentor your children, mentorship is important. And so that's where the Titus 2 principle book came about. And the co-authors in that book shared their stories of how mentors in their lives made a significant difference in the trajectory of their life. So, first of all, the answer is within our house, from one story. Second of all, we need a mentor to help us get from point A to point B. And then last but not least, I said, God, I need a model. If I'm going to share this message, I need a model. What does an executive woman look like? What is, and my direct sales community talked about the balance of faith, family, and finances, and that while you do build whatever you build from home, you deserve an executive salary. And so he directed me to the Proverbs 31 woman. And that's what this last book is. The Quintessential Woman is a case study of the Proverbs 31 woman, because she's an excellent example of what it means to be executive, to be in a leadership position, but also to create legacy for her family. And so that's why that book came out. So it's more like a devotional journal. I go each scripture, I share a tidbit, I give an action item, or I provide a thought provoking content that applies to that. I ask a question, and then I provide lines for the reader to be able to make their own notes pertaining to that scripture. So it's 31 days. And the Proverbs 31 woman is our example. And I did not intentionally name it like devotional of the Proverbs 31 woman, because they're everywhere on the shelves. I've never read one of them, but I knew that I think the reason that book was the last one, Denise, to be published is because I couldn't think of the name. I could not think of the name. And then one day, I don't know if it was 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, the word quintessential came to mind, and I looked it up. And I was like, because I was going to say like the executive leader. And I'm like, no, that don't sound sexy. I just kept going back and forth. And I knew what the word executive meant. And then when quintessential came to me, I looked it up. And quintessential means representing the most perfect or typical example of a quality or of a class. And so that's what the Proverb 31 woman is. She's a typical example of quality or class, the perfect example to give us. She is an executive woman, and the word executive simply means having the power to put plans, actions, and laws into effect. And we do that whether we're a mom, whether we work as a CEO, C-suite woman, whether we're an entrepreneur, but it all goes together. So that book applies to every woman, but especially those in leadership capacity. So that's how they came about, Denise.
Awesome. I love how everything is kind of building on
Yeah.
X. And I always say this, I learned this in October 2022, is nothing we do will be wasted. Nothing we do will be
Yeah.
wasted. So
True.
it's paying attention to just what you're doing. First, being obedient and moving, because sometimes we, ask God to order our steps, but step mean moving, right? Order the step.
Right.
If you don't take any movement, you're not going to be able to fulfill what he's called you to do. So there's
Right.
action that's involved in that. So I love how and when you agree, when you're in it, you don't always know it, right?
No, I
You
didn't. I had
just
no clue.
have to go back and like, oh, 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 and not when you said that before you even moved there, that you had those particular books and stuff that was available, but until God's perfect timing do we release it.
Right.
About my whole decide, but the acronym decide, I know you've been hearing about that for years, right? So
Yes.
that was prior. So that was over 17 years ago, over 17 years ago. So I'm bringing this up because sometimes we think he's giving us something for one particular reason,
Right,
and
right,
it may not, you keep trying it, because I feel like I've been kept trying to use, kept trying to figure it out, kept trying to figure it out, but now realizing, oh, it wasn't about any of those things, it was all
right,
about over
right.
here.
Something
So,
else, right?
so don't give up on something that God has given you, even if it's taken years for it to come. Just believe if he gave it to you, there was a purpose behind it, and just
That's
don't
true.
abort it for
Very
that.
true.
So tell us, when you talk about, so a part of it, you say legacy and leadership in
Yeah.
there specifically. So tell us a little bit more about, what you're trying to communicate. Let's start with the leadership aspect of it.
So we read the story, and many times I know we've read the Proverbs 31 woman. And growing up as a young girl, I heard that she sewed and she made sure her family was taken care of. And that was about all they said. you know, I didn't hear about any other aspect. We knew that she was a seamstress and she took care of her family. But when I began to study it myself, she was very entrepreneurial. She was very engaged in her community. She was not only a retailer, but she was a wholesaler. She was a decision maker. And so when I talk about being an executive, the person that is positioned to make plans and really to make put laws into effect, to make plans, to really direct the course of events, really is what an executive does. That's what she did. I mean, it talked about her starting in the morning early, and she prepared food for her family, and she gave us assignments to her maid servants. I was like, that's what I'm missing. I don't have maid servants. Of course, of course, we may call them assistants now. And so that tells me that she was executive because she had a staff, and that even though she was building something for herself or for her family, she still was pouring into the economy of other households by employing other people. And so that's what, as a leader, what you do, you don't just build for yourself. You make sure that whatever you do, you have tentacles out to be able to support and to encourage and to sustain other people. They need to know what it is that they need to do to grow and to become better versions of themselves. Another thing, just as a point of reference, is that it talked about her making sashes, and she sold them in the marketplace to retailers. I'm paraphrasing. So she was a wholesaler. So she had a good that she could sell to other people who then could use it in their business. So that means she was industrious. There again is a leadership principle. We are diversified in our attempts. Our gifts make room for us. And so you may be a great orator, you may be very administrative on your job, but you also have the skill set to be able to create something of your own. So she was diverse in her attempts. She was an investor. It says she considered a field and she bought it, and then she created a vineyard. And in the storyline, when that came about, I'm like, okay, the Bible is very intentional with the verbiage that it uses, and if you're not careful, you'll miss it. And so I'm thinking she planted a vineyard. Well, a vineyard does not produce grapes immediately. It takes several years for the vines to even grow, and then it takes several more years for the grapes to even form. And then even in that, you got to crush the grapes to create the oil. I mean, to create the wine. So I'm like, why did she plant corn or butter beans or something? That would have been a a quicker return on her investment. But she was also intentional, because even after you plant a vineyard, and although it takes a moment, several years for it to get to full capacity, vineyards will produce 50, 60, and even hundreds of years later. So that's a legacy
Mhm.
decision. It may not happen immediately, but the investments you make will have an impact later. And then, of course, without going any further, I'm going to give one more point, is that at the end of the day, it talked about her husband being an influencer in the gate, which was where decisions were made. So she just didn't marry any old Woody Pooty. She had somebody who was who was influential on his own. And it talks about, he praised her for her works, and said, and her children spoke highly of her as well. And that's really what legacy is. Legacy, many times we think of the children that we've birthed and the money that we leave them, but it's really how they speak about us and how we make the impact, and how people reverence who we were or respect who we are even after we're gone. And so here we are, somewhat thousands of years later, still talking about the Proverbs 31 woman. So that's leadership, that's legacy in a nutshell. There's a lot more, because I dissect every part of that, even in the relationship with the children, the relationship with the spouse, conscious decisions we have to make within ourselves as leaders. And so the ultimate messages for me to show or to offer to women for consideration is that regardless of the role in which you serve, you are executive, you are a leader, and everything you do, if you do it with intention, will leave a legacy.
Okay, so am I the only one that need to go back and read the proper script?
You just need to get my book and use that as your,
Right,
it'll
right,
take you through.
right. For sure. Because I mean, you broke that down. I mean, you broke it down. And the thing that stood out to me, well, many things, but the one thing specifically when you say she chose to get the vineyard, a lot of times, especially when you're talking about people who are in business, we want the results right away. We want the results right away. You know, having worked in our Mary Kay business, that we find people who, if they don't make money, you know, they all excited at January 1st, by January 20th, because they ain't got no sale, they done with it, right?
Right.
So, but understanding that through that process, I mean, it's a process,
It
right? The
is.
process, understanding that anything that you want to have a lasting legacy is going to be a process. And
Right.
even the process, I can imagine that even through what she was doing, she was building influence. She was building, you know, people, because she was consistent. Like all of that plays into, you just don't show up and be an executive. There's a process in that's involved in that as well. So I love when you said that was a legacy decision. So when we're deciding to do stuff, it's not just worrying about what the current day impact, you know, what when you do something today, you know, we have said or seen posts that say, you know, make a decision today that your future self will be proud of, you know, changing that, make a decision today that your future generations that won't even meet you would be proud
of.
Right. To be able to go on and talk about that. So when when a woman gets this devotional or this quintessential book, what do you want her to take from it? Like, what do you want her to experience as a transformation for herself? Or if that is the case, like, what is it that you want to what impact do you want to have on a woman? Maybe that's the way I want to ask.
Okay. Well, I hope that they see themselves in the storyline, if not every scripture, at least one of the scriptures, because they need to see the fact that they do bring value to the table. And oftentimes we don't see what we have to offer, other people see it. So that's one thing I hope they take from it. But then the other thing I want them to do is to take this pattern and run with it. I'm not saying you have to hit all 31 points, but grab a few of them. You know, I don't know about you all, but I love the idea still of having maid servants or assistants. I'm just deciding how many and and who they may be because we weren't meant to do this alone. In order to make the greater impact, we've got to have help. So I hope they take at least a few of the principles because they're really outlined as keys or principles to implement. And so you may not hit all 31, but I want you to see growth is something that you can accomplish from a progressive standpoint. Start somewhere. So that's what I hope. I hope they see this and they don't just see it as me. Whenever I heard, as I said at the onset, whenever I heard Proverbs 31 woman, I was like, okay, so she cook and she sew. I mean, really, it's so much more to her than that. And so I want women to see that there was so much more to her than that, that oftentimes you won't even hear about even in a church setting. God gave it to me because I was in a quiet season asking questions. And so he gave this to me and I wrote it out. He said to write it and I just started writing. And so now it's a book that I can share with others.
Awesome. Awesome. And I'm glad you said, because I know when we were talking about having a conversation about it, you kept talking about her value, understanding her value. And I want you to touch on that a little bit more, because that is, I think a lot of times women don't know their value. And so then they don't own their value. Right.
Right.
And if we compare, I'm coaching somebody now, and she kept comparing herself to this other person. And I was like, but y'all, like, they're totally different. You know, if we think about the D personality, like the other lady is a strong D and she has strong I, but everybody loves her. I say, when you learn how to use that, you're going to be powerful. Like, you draw people to you. So talk about the only their own value, understanding their own value to make them a quintessential woman.
Okay. Well, that's a good question. It really is. One of the things I hope women come to understand is that that when they were created, they were given gifts and talents from the get-go. And a lot of times we can become beat down, or we not really may not really live full out because of the occupations that we've chosen. Now, I'm not saying it's not good to have a great job. I had a great paying job with excellent benefits, but I was happily dissatisfied because I really was not able to use my gifts in the way in which they were intended. I don't think we really help live fulfilling lives until we really apply the gifts and talents that we have. And then some of us may be in situations where we're able to exhibit and use our gifts and talents, but the job doesn't really truly appreciate them. There's always somebody there to not give you the encouragement or build you up to the next level because they see you as an asset to the company, but not so much so that you benefit as long as the business benefits. And so sometimes, Denise, I believe that's why women don't really see themselves the way they should, because the environments that they're in don't encourage it, they don't foster it, they don't feed it.
And they don't celebrate
So
it.
they don't celebrate it. They don't. So you have to find a space. That's what my Mary Kay community became for me. My job was great. It paid me well. It had excellent benefits. My Mary Kay bubble was where I went for my therapy, my mental therapy. So we have to switch our thinking in our brain. Until we do that, until we really begin to with from a place of gratitude in a perspective or our perception of who we are and what we have to offer, it's not until then that we can really step out. It's not really into that point until we step out. So that's what I want women to understand, is that we're all gifted. We were equipped to be executives. And I say this, if you work from home, let's say you don't have a job other than the awesome responsibility of taking care of your family. You're juggling an enterprise in your home. You're making decisions about budgets, caregiving, you're balancing children. You're doing it all. You're working in an executive capacity, whether we look at it or not. And culture does not. Culture tells women that we have to choose one or the other. It tells us that if we're stay at home, then if we're a career person, we have to negate our home in order to make it up the ladder. But I'm saying to you, the Proverbs 31 woman tells us we can have it all. We can balance life. We can have a great family life, a great marriage. We can build a culture in our home of peace and joy, and still make a significant difference in our community and leave a legacy for our family. But we must do it by the pattern that God establishes. Otherwise, it's not truly going to work. Culture tells us one thing, the kingdom tells us something different. We have to choose God's way in order for it to really work.
And to last.
Yeah.
For sure, for sure. And the one thing, as you talk about the gifts and talents, one of the things when we did the 100 Days of Believing Bigger last year, the one thing I'll tell you, anybody, to do that devotional, because it really drives that we own gifts and talents. It drives that we have a unique DNA. It drives it home. So what I come to realize is prior to that, some talents are very tangible, very like people who can sing, people who can cook, like tangible. Then there's some other kind of intangible talents, or it's something that people don't acknowledge as much. And I had to realize that and this sometimes how that this must be gifts or talent is when you do something with such ease and people struggle with it.
Like event planning, which is easy for me. And people go, I'm just amazed that I'm like, do what? Denise falls in that category too.
and even just what I even found in my Mary Kay experience is just my gift. I always say I have a gift with numbers. Like I can break down some numbers.
Oh my God, yes.
Screen, and people will make you think that was for longest made me think that was insignificant. And because they didn't understand it, so they would, don't nobody want to hear that.
Yeah.
So you got to realize too that sometimes your gifts may not be the traditional gifts that people will acknowledge or see value in. That's why it's important for you to know your own value, understand what you possess, what you can do. And it's usually what people are always asking you to do, stuff that you do it with ease, that you just have come to even minimize yourself.
Right.
That's talk a little bit about that piece.
Well, I think it becomes when it becomes easy for us, we don't see it as a gift and talent. It's just something that we do.
Right.
I remember being at a retreat once, and one of the speakers mentioned that what you were really gifted to do, you probably were doing when you were 12 and 13 years old. When she said that, I started thinking, what was I doing at 12 and 13 years old? I was making things and selling it. I was being social and marketing and supporting people and talking about how what I made was going to look great in their bathrooms, that kind of thing. And so fast forward, I may not be creating this. I am creating tangible things, but it's a book. And then the book is to serve the person that, the audience that it was intended for. I truly believe, Denise, you're right, because we can function in certain capacities with ease, and we don't think of it as a gift and talent, and other people may or may not. That's why your community is so important. You need to find the right tribe. You need to decide to find the right tribe to be in, that's going to celebrate, that's going to help you identify what those
Mhm.
are, and then to encourage you and push you to develop them so that you can use them to serve you and your family, and to build your legacy. That's what our Bible says, that our gifts will make room for us and will bring you before kings. Well, kings are people of influence, people who have the say so, who are in charge, who have the money, who have they're the end all be all. So when we identify our gifts, we're in communities to help us foster those gifts and develop those gifts so that we evolve into the person that really God intended for us to be, because he gave us those gifts in the first place. Then a lot of what we desire to see in our families and the fulfillment that we desire to see as a person will come to fruition. I truly believe that.
Yeah. And I want women just to own it, like own it, be excited about it, unapologetically about it.
Yeah,
It's that confidence with it. And
right,
one of the
right,
things I say that I pulled from this journey of the 100 Days of Believing Bigger, the reason that you should be because God chose you. Like if
exactly.
we think about our DNA, right, it's so unique, right? So we have unique gifts, we got unique talents, we can do things like all of that, and He chose you. Like,
Right,
and then so then when you talk about it, it's not talking about it because of you thinking so much of yourself. You just
right,
excited that He chose me. Like this is what He
exactly,
chose to execute through me. Like
exactly,
that's why I always say,
exactly.
thank you, Lord, for executing this through me. And
Through
the
me,
fact that you
right.
were
You're just a
so
vehicle, right? A vessel,
His vessel, though, right?
right,
His
right.
vessel, that He gave this to me versus giving, like He gave you your hair wet and curly. Like I got to do a whole lot of twisting. You knew what was under here. Like I got to go through a whole process, right? Even stuff that's specific, as little
Yeah,
details that people think are insignificant, where somebody else is struggling over here to try to even get a crinkle. My daughter,
yeah,
like what's your hair, But it's we minimize those things, but just understanding how unique of a gift we are. So
right,
you talked
right.
about that whole value, understanding you have all
You do
women.
have value. We all bring value to the table. And let me speak to the comparison trap. That is so, uh, you know, we hear it a lot. Over the
Mhm.
years of working with women in business, you hear it a lot, and they'll do a point of comparison. And the thing that's so dangerous about that is oftentimes what we're looking at is that person working in their strength, but you don't know that they have weaknesses, because they don't spotlight their weaknesses. They don't
Of
talk
course.
about their weaknesses. They just operate in what they know they're strong in. So when you're looking at them, you're comparing your weaknesses to their strength, and that's not even fair, because everybody has areas in which they are strong in and
Mhm.
areas in which they may not be as strong. When you choose to be unapologetic about the gifts that you bring to the table, you don't get up talking about, well, I'm just not good at cooking, and I'm not good at blah, blah, blah. That doesn't even need to be discussed. Let me tell you what I
Right.
am good at. And
Right.
here's how I shine. And then in intimate times, or times of transparency, someone may say, well, do you cook, girl? Yes, I can, but let's not talk about that. That's not my strength. I got maid servants for that. So you just get assistance. So I don't want women. I tell people, please don't come to me talking about how you differ from your sister. I don't want to talk about how you differ from me. You're supposed to be different from me.
Right.
The objective is to figure out where you shine the brightest, where you have the strengths, and to develop those strengths. And you probably can, over time, become stronger in those areas that you're not as strong in, but that's not where you want to dwell. You want to
Right.
focus on the areas for
Energy.
which you've been strengthened and where you're gifted, and then soar from that place.
And shine brightly,
Yes.
unapologetically, like
Yes.
like really good, really good, really good. Um, So what I wanted to give the ladies opportunity to ask any questions or comment anything before. Was there anything in particular specifically that you also want to share? We're gonna close with the events that you have, but is there anything
No,
specifically?
not really. I just believe this book is for everybody. As I said earlier, for every woman, regardless of the role in which you serve, whether you're a stay-at-home homeschooling mom or whether you're a C-suite executive, it's for everybody. It really is. It's for
Awesome,
every female and the men that love them. Okay.
awesome, awesome. So I want if anybody has any questions that they want to ask, you can either come off mute and say it to say it, or you can put it in the chat. Was there anything that she said that triggered something for you? We would love to know that. We would love to know. I'm gonna remove the spotlight so we can be all sitting in the room together. So does anybody have any questions or anything they want to ask Dr. Anissa? Don't be shy, don't be shy. We had a couple people said they loved your story. Yes,
Thank you.
Bill.
Can you drop in the chat where we can purchase your book?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I think we have an image. Let me
Yeah, I can pull that
Denise, you
up.
have that image I
Mhm.
provided. She asked, Denise gave me assignment, and so I followed the instructions. So there's an image with my book. That QR code, if you scan it, it'll take you straight to where you can order.
Let me see. I'll give them a minute to do that, but I also want you to talk about your other events. So I'm gonna come back to that. I'm gonna come back to that image. Okay. So tell us about these events and what made you do them and
Okay. Well, the book itself launched on the 31st of March. And y'all, it's too funny because Denise and I converse periodically all the time. You know, we've been a permanent fixture in each other's lives for years now. And so I didn't know she was doing Talk About It Tuesday. And so she sends me a message and says, I've been meaning to call you. I'd like you to be my guest. And I said, oh, perfect timing. My book launches on the 31st of March. I would love to talk about my book. So this book, I've never done this before, but you know, I've been released to do this, but I'm doing hosting, I should say, a 2-month book tour. And so my goal is to sell 100 books between this month and May. That's the goal. And so all of the events that I am participating in and or hosting for myself is centered around the quintessential woman. So on the last Saturday of this month, I'm participating in a one day retreat. And you know, that happened. She put an APB out on Facebook and said, I'm looking for an author to be a part of this event. And I know her personally, the host, Miss Teresa Fairley. But my name was given to her. And at the same time, I was saying, well, what is the event? You know, that kind of thing. So I'll have an opportunity to share about the quintessential woman, what it means to be a quintessential woman, which was fit really well with her theme for this event, and sell some books there. I do have another event in between today and the 26th that the logistics are still being worked out, but I didn't share. But on the first Saturday of May, I'm hosting my own, the Quintessential Woman virtual retreat. If you follow me on Facebook or social media, you'll be able to see it live because we're going to stream into our Facebook platform. And if you have an opportunity to peruse the flyer, you're going to see that the Diva Denise herself is one of my speakers. So we're going to talk about during this 2-hour window what it means to be a quintessential woman from a spiritual standpoint, from a mental standpoint, professionally, and intrapersonally. So each of them are going to talk about that. And of course, I'll be promoting the book during that window of time. And even hopefully, if all works as planned, there are going to be some other women that are going to offer snippets of what they think being a quintessential woman is in between the speakers to add a little more flavor to the event. And then, of course, in the month of May, I've got some other events that are coming up and they're still being booked now. I had a call today. A lady wants me to come to Wilmington and she wants to do a book signing. Now, for those who don't know about Wilmington, North Carolina, it's at the beach. It's at the beach. So, you know, I told her yes. Whatever day she wants me to come, I am there. But so I'm still working on my May schedule, but my goal was to have 5 events between April and May to promote my book. And I think I'm at 6 events or almost, yeah, 6 events already. So I'm excited about it. That's what these events are about. I'm hosting my own, but I'm also have the privilege of partnering and being a part of other people's events in order to have a platform to share.
Awesome. Here's the information about the here is information about the book again, and then ways that you can follow and stay connected with Dr. Anissa as well. She's always doing something, always promoting other people, always encouraging. So it's not about just trying to find opportunities for herself. She's also always finding opportunities to be able to promote other people as well. So of course, one of the things I love about her. And not being afraid to do something different. Let's talk about that for a moment. You know,
Absolutely.
how long have you been in your Mary Kay business?
Since 1999.
Was that 26 years?
Yeah, that's 26 years. November would make, can't do the math. November would make 26 years.
Okay.
Yeah, November would make 26 years. So yeah, I've been doing, but then of course we work in a leadership capacity. I never thought, honestly, I'd be a part of Mary Kay this long. I would really join just because I like the skincare and was going to get my discount. And then, of course, when I was in that quiet season and God said, take your business to the next level, I was like, you want me to sell? I mean, really? But it'd be the platform for me to grow and to learn and really see what it means to be a woman in a leadership capacity, being able to perfect and to strengthen the skill of being able to balance faith, family, and finances, to be able to pour into other women and to also know what it means to be accountable. So all of those keys, all of those principles, all of those strengths that I was able to develop and to pour into other people is simply what we need in general. So I'm thankful for it. Let me add this, Denise, before I go. The QR code that's on the flyer with the book I did post the link in the chat. When you use that QR code or the link in the chat, you pay $15 for the book. If you go to Amazon, it's on Amazon as well, but it's $19. During this tour, I'm offering a $4 discount. So you come out better purchasing it through the link versus going to Amazon, but whatever makes you happy. If you love it, I like it. But yeah. And then the QR code on the contact with me is my Hi Hello digital business card. So it has really everything. It has my Facebook link. It has information on how you can publish with me if you decide to write a book or author a book. I even have information on there about my Mary Kay community. It's like all of what I do in one bubble right there with that QR code.
Awesome. And one of the things that I want to say, as we close up, is that as you are going through life, let's take this off. Hopefully everybody got it. As you are going through life, I want you to pay attention to the skills that you are learning. Sometimes people get into an industry and they just think that they can only advance in the industry. And if they don't have a job there anymore, you own the skills.
Exactly.
You own the skills. Think about just all the things that you've done. I always tell people, this is an exercise I do often. If you took all the labels off, mother, daughter, sister, whatever your position, HR person at the job, like all the titles off, and just write down everything you're capable of doing, just everything you're capable of doing, so that you can own the skills and release the title. It's like, so then you can move around, right? I can move because, hey, I'm not limited to being the Mary Kay lady. I'm not limited to being an HR person. I'm not limited to being whatever your job titles are, because I own the skill. And I think that's part of that whole value thing. We forget about the skills we've learned, even though the job title may not even say the skill. Like, it's not the skill that you've learned. It doesn't. Don't even relate to the job title. You still own skill.
Exactly. That's true. That's a part of your identity, your DNA. It's embedded in you, who you are and your gifts and talents, and you use those to function in those capacities for which you serve. So a lot of times I think I went live maybe 2 weeks ago about how do you introduce yourself. And a lot of times people say, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm an executive at ABC company, or I'm the CEO of a nonprofit. And I'm like, those are functions in which you serve. Who are you? I'm the person that loves to meet people. I love to connect with people. I love to be around people. I love to network. That's who I am. And I use that gifting to serve as an entrepreneur, as my husband's wife, you know, that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree with you, Denise, because if the position is no longer available, if by God forbid you get your pink slip tomorrow, how are you going to identify yourself? You're
Right.
no longer the executive because you're not with the company anymore. And women get lost. People, I don't want to say women, but people get lost in the title. And then when the title is no longer there, they're like, what am I going to do? You're going to do what you did before. You're just going to reinvent yourself and give yourself another title.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you're
Yeah.
more than the title. You're more than the title.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. So
Absolutely.
awesome. Awesome. Well, I am super duper excited to have that you've spent this time with us. I believe
Thank you,
ladies have
Denise.
enjoyed their experience and just the story. There's so much that we learned from how you came to who you are. Hopefully that encourage people to just pay attention to their journey, accept their journey, and move with it. Like move, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to do anything different, because she definitely embraced something new that wasn't even in the plans. You know how we do our 5-year plan? It wasn't on the paper nowhere, right?
Nowhere.
So
Nowhere.
don't think that God has something in store for you that you think is going to be something totally different, and He has a totally different plan for you. So thank you guys for being on tonight. I appreciate it. No, you're not trying to restart my computer.
Denise, right? I want to say this to you before we go. I want to say thank you again for the opportunity. I so appreciate not only the ability to be on this platform, but for your friendship over the years. I cannot wait when I relocate to the area so that I can be hanging out with the side tribe, in whatever way possible. But you're doing great things. I know we've had these conversations in our powwows in our own personal time, and I wish you nothing but the best of success. I have no doubt in my mind that the hand of God is on you, and it's because of what you pour into the lives of others that this is going to, and it is growing, and it's going to grow even greater. Eventually, I just wouldn't be surprised if I saw you on the news and they're saying, wait a minute, we're here in Olive Branch, Mississippi with the one, and then they do your affirmation because everybody's got it. Thank you, Miss Opal. I hope she pronounces it Anissa. Yeah, but I just want to say thanks, Denise, and keep up the good work. I'm excited for what you're creating, and I look forward to being able to hang out with you in person eventually.
Yes.
In person.
It's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for getting on. Thank you, Sheena, and thank you, Mrs. Anissa. Beautiful testimony. You are pushing me to finish my devotional book that I started.
Come on, sis. Get it done. Get her done. This is the year to do it. This is the year to thrive.
That, Sheena. Now I know I can follow up. How's that coming? So yeah. Okay. All right. So, all right, you guys. So thank you for joining us. Next week we have B. Wendy. She's on talking about the stigma of mental wellness, but from the lens of confronting your fears, like really confronting your fears. So we have some great conversations going on. So come back here, same back channel, same back station on next week, and invite a friend. So you guys have a great rest of the night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.